Hello and welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Davina. This is the Pro-Democracy Variety Hour. What's happening? Glad you asked. So much. Joe Manchin is getting testy with journalists who ask him if he supports the child tax credit. And I notice a journalist from his local newspaper in West Virginia reports that he would like there to be a work requirement. Although if you oppose the Build Back Better bill, that has universal pre-K, so childcare for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds that's quality and educational. So saying you oppose the child tax credit because you want there to be a work requirement is kind of showing that you don't support parents in financially difficult situations. The child tax credit has been a boon to so many American families and has played a significant role in halving child poverty in the United States. So it's a problem for Joe Manchin. I'm just looking, and someone's posted a video of what Joe Biden actually said in the campaign when he was running in the Democratic primaries. Boom, he never promised $50,000 in student loan forgiveness. Other candidates did. He suggested a $10,000 forgiveness, but said if Congress passes a bill, then he would sign it, which is not the same as promising to do it via executive order. So just putting it out there because the far left or the progressive left are getting sabotagey with their very narrow-minded focus on student debt forgiveness. There's a lot of things that are of concern at the moment about American politics and the survivability or viability of American democracy. And student loan forgiveness, which would still disproportionately be a boon to well-educated people who are more likely to have good jobs. Not guaranteed, and I appreciate that student debt is a crushing financial burden for many. In no small order because compound interest is used rather than simple interest. So your debt increases significantly over time. You're not just paying back an interest rate that you owe on the principal debt. You're paying interest that compounds together. So you're paying interest on your interest. You're paying interest on the interest that you haven't paid yet. And that makes people's debts more difficult to get rid of. So I hear them. I hear their pain. And I know it would improve things. But what about 2 years of free community college? That would also be a significant boon for people looking to improve their lives and using education to improve their lives and to be able to contribute back even more to their communities and their country. Molly says, hello, nice to see you, Molly. How are you today? What I have up on screen is a publication from Just Security, which is the easiest case for the prosecution. It details that Trump's inaction on January the 6th could be used to convict him for, or at least prosecute him for aiding and abetting the unlawful occupation of the Capitol. So this was published on August the 25th, and I do have a video of that as well, which I'll bring up and just watch the end of it, of Eric Swalwell discussing that a little bit. So the Just Security article is up here. You can Google search it for yourselves if you want. Just Security, the easiest case for the prosecution. That's what you could use to Google and find that article if that's what you wanted. And now I'll just have a little bit of Eric Swalwell, Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell, discussing the same thing. And I'll also like to say that the booster shot is looking very promising in terms of having efficacy against Omicron, preventing hospitalization and death, and that we want that. We really, or we do want a booster shot to be applied to more Americans, because currently a quarter of American adults have had their booster shot. We want that rate to go up so people have the best level of protection against Omicron that they possibly can. we can already tell there's going to be a huge surge of COVID over Christmas. The COVID traces in Boston wastewater are double what they were at this point last year. And we already know it was bad last year at the end of 2020. Even as Trump and his cohort were planning to overthrow the government in order to undo the results of Joe Biden's electoral college victory, there was a build-up towards this mass death situation whereby 4,000 Americans were dying every day at the worst of it. All right, so let's have a quick listen to Biden not promising student debt relief.
We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen. It depends on whether or not you go to a private university or public university. It depends on the idea that I say to a community, I'm going to forgive the debt, the billions of dollars of debt for people who have gone to Harvard and Yale and Penn and schools, my children. I went to a great school. I went to a state school. But is that going to be forgiven rather than use that money to provide for early education for young children who come from disadvantaged circumstances?
We need student loan forgiveness.
Okay, so that was at a presidential town hall rather than from prior to winning the election. But still, important to show that Biden's been pretty clear about that intent. All right, we want a quick bit of Eric Swalwell. Oh, that's a video I'll share another time. What's up on screen is a video of somebody's made of Trump inheriting much of his wealth as from his father. And that's important because it's one of the few things that's been shown to shake people's devotion to Trump, is realizing that his construction of his persona as a wealthy businessman is actually a fabrication, and that he inherited a sizable amount of wealth and was able to use that wealth that he inherited from his father to generate loans that he then defaulted on, etc. Just that it's a constructed house of cards situation. All right, let's hear a little bit of Eric Swalwell. It's important to hear people stand up for American democracy and stand up for the rule of law and to safeguard future elections so that people can see there are consequences, even for wealthy, well-connected people, even for former presidents, if you conspire to obstruct or impede the business of government, namely, in this case, the certification of the election results. And that was done not to just mess with the government. That delay, we now know more evidence, was part of an overall plan to disrupt the proceedings and then declare the proceedings invalid and have Mike Pence move forward with a new proceedings of throwing it to delegations in the House of Representatives so that Republican delegations, which outnumber Democrat delegations, could then propose that Trump have a second term against the collective will of the American people, as evidenced in the election results. So that's taking a while to load, but at least you can still hear me. I wonder why it's so long. Nope, still not working. What if we start from the beginning? No, still not working. Oh, well, I can still read out loud to you something he said, because this clip is included with a quote. It says, Donald Trump may be on the hook for criminal liability. It wasn't an accident that Liz Cheney laid out the elements of the offense, something like USC, United States Code 18-15-13-3C, for the offense of essentially not acting to save the Congress while we're performing the Electoral College count. I can go to somewhere else to find out the exact part of the code. Let's see. Because I have it in, Article 2, Section 3 gives Trump a legal duty to intervene when the Capitol was being sacked. The president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So a president unmistakably violates his duty when he refuses to enforce the law because he wants a crime to occur. when, for example, he hopes to advance his own interests through the criminal conduct of others. And that is a good summary of what happened on January the 6th. Trump was hoping to benefit from the criminal conduct of his followers who were obeying what they believed strongly to be his bidding. He told them, if you want to keep your country, you have to fight for it and also march on the Capitol. So, yes, you want protection of First Amendment rights. You don't want to put a pall over free speech, but you can say, okay, standing back from what the president said to his followers at that day on January the 6th, you can say, how did the president act when he was in the White House watching on television his followers attack police officers and take over the Capitol and delay and disrupt the counting of the Electoral College vote? You can say that was a criminal act. It's punishable by 20 years in prison, apparently, to fail to obstruct and impede the processes of Congress through failing to take action, through failing to call in the National Guard. So his ability as president on that day was unique, his ability to enforce the law. Like other public officials, he could have sought the assistance of additional police officers or military forces. And he also had the option of asking his followers to stop. So more than 3 hours after rioters had violently entered the Capitol grounds and 2 hours after they forced their way into the building, Trump did then post a video telling them to go home. So you see, he thinks nobody can hold him responsible for inaction. He's like, law can't touch me if I just do nothing and I let other people do my dirty work for him. Well, turns out the law might be very specific on that count of holding somebody accountable for failing to act in their capacity as president, when, as president, they were uniquely positioned to call in the troops. Why did he fail for hours to ask his supporters to desist? And then why even then did he tell these criminals, we love you and you're very special? And why, according to ABC News correspondent Jonathan Karl, did the first takes of his message leave out a request to end the occupation, prompting his aides to request repeated do-overs? So if people testify that Trump had to be asked to include a message to his followers to leave and not just to tell them you're very special, we love you, this could be proof of his intent to have that criminal circumstance continue, and the other evidence of the maybe the plot to find ways to overturn the election results and delay the process, the standard process on January the 6th, and then argue that that disruption should just lead to abandonment of the rules. Oopsies, the Capitol's been overrun, so we can't certify Joe Biden's election victory today. That means we can't ever certify it because things are just different now. The disruption means we should now just get Mike Pence to throw out the electors from 6 states that Republicans have asserted are contentious. And Trump had a lot of allies in the Republican Party who were claiming that the results were contentious. And we know Jim Jordan was one of the people texting the president about it. Yes. Molly's noting that some of the text... Oh, oopsies. Now, are you hearing anything? Because I'm not hearing anything. Oh, probably because I haven't pressed sound on that. All right. All right, so if I press sound on this...
What do you know now today that you didn't know 3 days ago?
Or what I didn't know when we were an impeachment manager, right? In the fog of January 6th, we're trying to get all these people to come in. They're not cooperating. We want to know, what is Donald Trump thinking? What is he doing, not doing? Well, we now know that concerned Fox News hosts, concerned family members, concerned legislators who were with me in the chamber are all aiming their concerns at the White House and the country, told them to go to the Capitol. And as we are learning now, sat and did nothing when people were pleading for help because of lives being at risk.
Well, we certainly see the pleas coming in repeatedly to Mark Meadows. We may not know exactly what Mark Meadows told Donald Trump because Mark Meadows won't testify. Based on what you've seen of Merrick Garland seems to have his own set of considerations running Department of Justice. What's your reasonable expectation, honestly, based on what you've seen of Garland, for what he would do?
I want him to be independent. And he indicted Steve Bannon. And I think that was an easy call. I hope he's going to indict, or at least look at the law and the facts here with Mark Meadows. Again, that's his call. I'm not the prosecutor. It's his call. And as it relates to Donald,
I know. It keeps updating my bookmark section, I think. I want... I'm going to add. No ads. Oh, no, that's not the one. Here we are.
Interesting to me. I was even more surprised yesterday to hear from the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell talk about what he's learned and how he feels about this process. Listen.
I do think we're all watching, as you are, what is unfolding on the House side. And it will be interesting to reveal all the participants who were involved.
Interesting to reveal all the participants who were involved. What do you hear there?
Well, he has concerns about people in his own caucus, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and others. But by the way, Mitch McConnell had the opportunity to vote to convict. He walked away from that. He had the opportunity to join us and have a bicameral, bipartisan investigation into January 6th. He walked away from that. And all of those people who were sending messages to the president, it's maddening to me. I sat in that chamber. I didn't send messages to Mark Meadows. I didn't send messages to the president. I sent a text message to my wife telling her goodbye because I didn't think reinforcements were coming. And then we ultimately, because of the grace of God and the cops who fought like hell for us, saved us, we were able to get out. But that day could be repeated. And that's why this is so important.
Okay, so isn't that fascinating? He is rendered furious by seeing footage of or hearing about the text messages. I'm going to have a look at some of these text messages and emails that Mark Meadows was getting. Mark, he needs to stop this now. We are under siege up here at the Capitol. POTUS needs to calm this shit down. That was from Don Jr. I remember that one. Tell them to go home. They have breached the Capitol. We are all helpless. Well, we now know that was from a journalist, Jake Sherman, who attracted some criticism today on Twitter for having the personal cell phone number of Mark Meadows and to be communicating in that intimate fashion, begging for his life, begging for Mark Meadows to intercede with Donald Trump to beg for his life. Hey, Mark, protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows and doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something? There's an armed standoff at the Capitol. So yes, that's... But at that time, Eric Swalwell was messaging his wife, telling her goodbye because he didn't think reinforcements were coming, and he thought the Trump supporters would successfully break in and kill the legislators that they encountered. And that was a valid fear, and those insurrectionists did come close to being able to harm legislators, and some of them brought zip ties. We saw that evacuation was conducted in very close chronological proximity to the invasion of the Trump rioters. So yes, that was an important thing that we have talked about today. Trump's inaction benefiting him, and put in the broader context of what we've seen with the PowerPoint released by Mark Meadows to the committee, the PowerPoint outlining how they wanted to just make a claim of the election being contentious and say Venezuela and China have infiltrated the electronic voting machines. So we're going to discount all the millions, tens of millions. Okay, let's go. I'm ready to go. I got to go. See you, everybody. Take care and talk to you again soon. Bye.